Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Nikki, and welcome to the It's All Mental podcast, where there is something for everybody. We are on episode 2. This is episode 2. I hope you guys enjoy episode 1. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for your support and the love. I truly appreciate it. Now, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about anxiety and depression. And this topic is really near and dear to my heart because this is something that I'm truly passionate about. And this kind of shaped me really in creating this podcast because I really want to be an advocate for those who are dealing with mental health struggles and they feel like they don't have a voice, or they're just afraid that people may look at them like they're crazy, or different things. And for different reasons, I really want to be an advocate for people who are struggling and are hurting and really just need that help, but don't feel like they have someone that they can really talk to or really can go to for the help. So today's episode is very special to me. It's very special to me because I, as many of you know, have had and still have my own struggles with anxiety and depression. And I was actually diagnosed with moderate to severe anxiety. So it's really hitting home for me. It's hitting a soft spot for me. So I'm gonna give you guys like a backstory. It's gonna be like a story time of when I discovered what anxiety was and how I found out that it was something that I was struggling with. I actually struggled with this back in college. It was my sophomore year of college when everything started. I went to college to become a nurse. I attended North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. I graduated in 2014. I ended up graduating with a bachelor's in family and consumer sciences, but I started off as a nursing major. Now, for all of those who started off as nursing majors and changed their major, you understand. And for those of you that started off as nursing and finished nursing, you understand as well. From high school, I knew from the jump, I want to be a nurse. I want to be a nurse. This is what I want to do. I want to be a neonatal nurse and potentially become a traveling nurse. I had this whole thing planned out. But once I enrolled in college, it didn't pan out how I thought it would. It did not pan out how I thought it would. I started school, went into nursing, and then was failing miserably. I was failing miserably in my science courses. Everything else, passing with flying colors, but my sciences, failing, just failing miserably. And I was so unhappy, and I needed to figure out what I was going to do, what was going to be next for me. And turns out I did not know. I did not know. I just knew I had to change my major, but I didn't know what to change it to. So here I am wanting to be a nurse, but not enjoying science, not passing the science courses. So I have to change my major. And I'm on a time crunch. I don't have a lot of time. I have to change it. I have to do something different. So I ended up changing my major to family and consumer sciences, and I followed the path of early childhood education. Totally not what I wanted to do. I had so many people in my ear like, "Oh, you would be good with kids. You should work with kids. This is to be great for you." And da 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 da. And I'm just like, I'm struggling because I'm like, this is not really what I want to do. This is something that people are telling me to do, but I feel like I have to do it because I'm out of time. I don't have a lot of options, and I don't have time to sit down and really figure it out. So I went to college with no plan B. I had a plan A, and that was it. That was it. Plan A was it. And then when plan A failed, I had no plan B. So I was kind of grasping at straws and going out on a whim. And I ended up falling into something that would be a 10-year, pretty much 10 years of being somewhere I didn't really want to be. So I ended up changing my major to what everyone else told me to do. I felt like I was out of time. I had a time clock on my back and I didn't have time to really figure out what I wanted to do. So family consumer sciences it is. Ended up changing my major. And when it was time for me to go back to school, it was the summer before sophomore year was starting. And I went home, and that was when I had my first panic attack. I did not want to go back to school. I knew from then that this was not going to be a career that I was going to be happy in. This is going to be something for me to just graze on by, and I don't want to get stuck in this. And I feel like if I continue down this path, I'm going to be stuck and I'm not going to be able to figure my way out of it. Went down this course. School just became just uninteresting. And I hated school from that point on. I hated it. I hated it. I had some good memories, some good times, but as far as the academic part of school, I didn't want any parts of it. I wanted to quit, I wanted to drop out, and I just wanted to go back home. But I knew that quitting wasn't an option. It's like I have to stay this course, I have to figure this out, and I have to keep going. I have to keep moving. This is just what I have to do. So all throughout college, depressed. I have anxiety. At the time, didn't know I had anxiety, didn't know what depression was. I just knew I was sad all the time. I was lonely, even around my friends. I felt like I had nobody in my corner that could really understand me. And I just felt so much stress. I was just calling it stress all the time, just stress, 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 stress. So I remember one of my friends at the time, I went off campus and participated in some activities that lifted me up if you catch my drift. And that became my vice. That became the thing that helped me to calm down. And I started engaging in it so much to the point where it's like I was mellowed out all the time. And then people think, oh, you just had to switch up. I remember Nikki being so sad and feeling this way all the time. And now she's just so happy. Like, what's going on? And it was something that I hid. The only people that knew were the people that were in my close circle that I was doing it with. So it's like, well, nobody else knows. So I just got to keep it under wraps. And I remember when my best friend at the time, um, he found out, Mitchell, I love you, Mitchell, by the way. And he was like, what? He was so shocked. He could not believe it. But it was like, this is what was really helping me. This is what helped me. Then fast forward, we get to senior year. And it started to become a hindrance because I was really kind of ignoring my school. I was floating through college. Like junior year, I started floating through. I floated through junior year. And then senior year, I was like, okay, I want to graduate. And I've done changed my major and I have all these courses I still have to take. So I doubled down, buckled down, and ended up graduating in December of 2014. I still graduated in 2014, the year I was supposed to, but I ended up graduating the next semester. So I ended up graduating during winter. So I ended up graduating, got a job, and I was working in childcare. Graduated, had my first apartment, and I was working. I was always just working. I was working my teaching job, and I was also working a part time job. So I always held down two jobs for as long as I can remember. up until about 2 years ago when it just kind of burnt me out. But I remember I was working these jobs and I thought I was like gonna be okay. I thought I was starting to find my footing in life. Not really extremely happy, but content. Content was where I was in life. And that's okay. I still have time to figure it out. I'm done with college. I have a degree, so I still have some time to figure this thing out. Like I'm gonna figure life out. And then here comes anxiety come creeping up once again. And I remember during that time, I was working a lot. I was tired from working so much, 7 days a week. I was always working. And also during this time, I was going through a situationship, if you would call it, because it wasn't a relationship. And the guy that I was involved with, I remember him having a child with another woman. And it broke my heart so much because I was just in love. I was in love and I felt like I had just had my heart ripped out of my chest. So at the time I'm not happy. I'm not happy with my job. I'm overworked. I'm tired. I'm trying to support him and be everything that I can for him, and then this happens. And I just that was kind of like I'm trying not to I'm trying not to get emotional, but sometimes when you think back, you can kind of see and visualize that you can have an image of what you went through and where you were, and it just brings back a level of hurt that you felt during that time. Um, he really hurt me. He really broke my heart, and that was kind of like the final straw for me, to where I was like, you know what? I don't know what else to do. I would go to work, I would come home and get in the bed. And on Saturdays, I was working at the YMCA, so that was my part-time job. I would go work in the mornings, come home and just get in the bed and stay in the bed all day, close the blinds, block myself out from the world. And I just felt like I had no more fight left in me. I felt broken and defeated, and I was hurt. And looking back, looking back on that time from where I am now, I really just wish that I could give that little girl a hug. Like I wish I can give that younger girl a hug and just really say, you know what? It's not the end. You gonna get through this. You're gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right. So I felt so defeated. Again, I don't have a name for what's going on with me. It's come up again in life. I thought I had things okay to the point where I could figure them out, but I didn't. Here comes anxiety reaching its head up again, and I'm like, okay, well, here we are again in this place of unhappiness, and I can't go back to the same methods that I used back in college. I have to stay on the straight and narrow. So I remember during that time I would just come home from work, I would get under the covers and just really just cry, cry and cry some more until I would cry myself to sleep. I was so unhappy. I was so just down and out and sad, and that was kind of like the thing that just like mm, mm. Here go life again, just and I started one by one, day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, picking myself back up, picking myself back up, picking myself back up. And I met one of my good friends to this day. His name is Larry. And meeting him truly changed my perspective on how I view anxiety when I found out what it was and how I view it now. He gave me some boost and the kick that I needed to really just get up and push through, because he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And he encouraged me and he gave me tough love, which was what I needed. I really needed. Sometimes I feel like because I'm such a empath and I feel what others feel, and I always want to be like, let me give you a hug, and I just want to embrace you, and I just want to just like, is this gonna be all right? Like, I want to encourage you and uplift you, but sometimes we truly need something more than that. Sometimes we need that. All right, it's time to get up. It's time to pick yourself up. Like, you've been wallowing in this for so long, and it's just time to get up. It's time to pick yourself up. Like, it's time to get back up. So meeting him was the best thing that happened to me. It was like one of the best things that has ever happened to me. And I have met some amazing people in my life, and he's truly one of the amazing people that I met. So he gave me that kick that I needed, and it really added some fuel to what I needed. It started to allow me to focus and to really just look into, okay, what am I passionate about? What is it that Nikki wants to do? What is it that makes Nikki happy? What makes me, what is it that makes me feel good inside? Like, what makes me happy? And that's what led me on this journey of really trying to figure it out, really trying to figure out what was the thing that God placed me here for. I remember watching the Angie Martinez podcast and watching the episode with Lauren London and her talking about grief. And I remember her saying how she did not want to miss her mark. She, in simple terms, to say that whatever God placed me here for, I want to do that. And I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss that opportunity. I don't want to look back and think of what I should have done or wish I would have did that or wish. And it's the same thing too for this podcast. There were so many times where I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to do it. This is not going to be good. Like I said, I had so many doubts and fears in my mind when I just simply just needed to do it and just start and just watch it grow. So it really opened up doors for me to start really figuring out what that was. Now, in order for me to do that, I needed to figure out what was going on within me. And I needed to take that journey with God and to really understand, like, okay, God, what is my purpose? And God took me on a journey to figure out what that was. But I'm just so glad that I was able to figure it out. So not only did that motivate me to find my passion, it motivated me to figure out, like I said, figure out what's going on with me. Go take that journey, take the steps to figure out, hey, why am I feeling like this? Why is this the way it is? Like, why am I like this? And I remember going to the doctor, and I remember speaking with the doctor and them giving me a referral, and I took the referral, and that's when I figured out what I was going through. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I finally feel like I'm making some progress here. Because for so long, even throughout college, I never told my friends how I was feeling. I was afraid to tell people what I was feeling because I was afraid that people were going to think I was crazy. Like, you're really crazy right now. Like, you're a nut. You're losing it. And my friend Larry, he was the only person I could really open up to and say, like, this is what I'm feeling. These are the emotions I'm feeling. And one day I'm feeling this, and one day I'm feeling here, and I'm here, and I'm here. And I feel like I'm all over the place. And then I feel like my heart is beating so fast, it's beating out of my chest. And this is that and the third. And I finally put a name to what I was dealing with. And once I was able to identify that, then I was able to figure out, okay, how do I cope with this? How do I cope with this? How do I do this? And I remember the doctor that I talked to, I remember her telling me that I want you to try therapy. Before we put you on any type of medications, as antidepressants, anything like that, mood stabilizers, I want you to try therapy first. I don't want to just put you on medicine and have your emotions pretty much at the same level. You're feeling just blah and nonchalant all the time and really not feeling anything. I want you to try therapy first. I was afraid to go to therapy. When she said it, it was kind of like, therapy, therapy. I would, as a a young black girl, I started to reflect back to my childhood. Like, I was not raised on therapy. Like, my family, it was, you need to pray about it and kind of just move on and go forward from it. And I remember being a little girl, and I had this fear of death. Like, for a long time, I had a fear of death, and I used to have meetings with the pastor after church because I was so afraid to sleep at night. I would have these terrible dreams. I was just so afraid of death. And I remember it being so bad that my parents, they actually, like I said, they had to talk to the pastor. I was like, could you please talk to her about this? Because I was afraid. I was just scared to death. Like, I just thought, I'm just gonna die. Like, I'm gonna die. Like, and just I don't know what it was, but it was just this fear of dying, this fear of death. Just death just made me afraid in general. It just made me afraid. So I was used to growing up, okay, we need to talk to a pastor, or we need to pray, but we don't go to therapy. Like, I was like, therapy? Like, I'm like, I was afraid of therapy. I was afraid of therapy. Little did I know therapy would be the thing that changed my life completely. Therapy changed my life. I didn't go for a while because I wasn't as receptive to the idea, because I felt like, okay, if I go to therapy, people are really gonna think I'm crazy. Like, let me just figure this out. Let me pray. I know what it is. I can Google research, and I can figure it out. And as in my research, it was therapy, 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 antidepressants, medication. Okay, she don't want me to go to medication route. I don't want to go to medication route. So we're gonna have to figure this out, Lord. Like, I'm just praying, like, God, we're gonna have to figure this out, because this is not what I'm gonna do. So um therapy was the thing that changed my life. Little did I know that because I had a name for it, it wouldn't get better. It actually got worse. It got worse. My panic attacks became worse. The anxiety was worse. The depression was worse. And as time progressed, I actually started to develop suicidal thoughts. And that was the thing that really shook me the most, is when I started to want to die. And then I started to think back, like, as a kid, I was afraid of death, but here I am embracing death. As a kid, I'm afraid of death, but now here I am embracing death. And there were so many times, more times, that I even want to count that I just wanted to die because I felt like death was more peaceful than life. And one day it shook me so bad. It really shook me. And it was in that moment I said, I need to talk to somebody. I need to talk to somebody. Because I had reached a low point and nobody knew. Nobody could see it. They couldn't see it. I had reached such a low point in my life where it was like, you know what? I gotta do something. I gotta change it because if I don't, I'm gonna lose my life. And that's when it was like, okay, I had to talk to somebody. And I found a therapist, and there were two things that were very important for me. I wanted a female therapist, and I wanted a Christian based therapist. There were very two things that were important to me. And I found a therapist, not to say, let's put it out there, disclaimer, not to say that there aren't good men therapists, but as a woman, I wanted a strong woman. I wanted a Christian woman that really could relate to me. This men can relate to men, women can relate to women. I feel a bit more. So I really wanted someone that was going to help me along this journey. She was the absolute best. Gave me the tools that I needed to work through my anxiety, my depression, and it was just amazing. It was amazing. The I would literally look forward to therapy every week. That was the highlight of my week. The highlight of my week was my therapy sessions with my therapist. That was the highlight of my week. She not only helped me get through anxiety and depression, but she also helped me get through grief. My father passed in 2021 of January. She helped me to grieve. It took me a long time to grieve the death of my father, and she helped me through that as well. She helped me through so much. And I was like, wow, this is life changing. This is mind blowing that someone has actually helped me be able to manage. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't on a roller coaster of emotions. I felt like, okay, this day might not be the best, but there's a brighter day coming. First time I felt like there's a light at the end of this tunnel somewhere. I just got to keep going. I just got to keep moving. And changed my life completely. Changed my life. And I would recommend anybody, even if you aren't suffering from any type of mental illness, therapy is amazing. Try therapy. It is so amazing. Like, try it. So that became the thing. It didn't fix me. Therapy did not fix me because I still to this day struggle with anxiety. I still struggle with depression. But now I'm able to cope and I'm able to bring myself out of those dark places a bit easier than I was before because I have those tools that help me when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling low, and when I just feel like I can't go on. And along with therapy, my faith and prayer and just really being on the journey of being closer to God has helped as well. So there's so many things that work together to keep me going and to keep me uplifted and to keep me stronger. So I say that to say anyone that is struggling with mental health, anyone that is struggling with going to therapy, talking to somebody, there are people out here who care. There are people out here who can help. Um, and there are people out here who will not judge. That won't judge you. They won't make you feel uncomfortable. They won't make you feel like you're crazy. It's just really making up in your mind, like, okay, I'm going to do this. And you have to show up for you. You have to show up for you every day. Every day. Sometimes every hour. Sometimes every minute. But you have to continue to show up for you. You have to continue pressing forward. It's okay to have days where you just need to hit pause for a little bit. But just making sure that you're not giving up and finding the tools that help you. What helps you, whether it be journaling, whether it be meditation, whether it be working out, going to the gym, music, anything that is positive, that is going to send positive vibes and just positive energy. Make that your thing that's going to help you along on this journey. So that is truly what I feel like my mission is, to be an advocate and to really help someone who feels like their voice is not heard, who's hurting. And I hope that I inspire someone to truly figure out what it is that's going to help you, what it is that is going to make you feel better, feel more uplifted, and be able to cope with this more. So that was my story on anxiety, and that was my journey on how I figured out what anxiety was, what depression was, what worked for me, what helped me, and how I'm able to stand today and still be on this journey of coping with anxiety and coping with depression. So I hope this episode helped someone, and I hope it inspired someone. I hope it inspired someone to go on that journey, to figure out what your purpose is, to figure out what it is that's gonna help you, that you're gonna be able to cope with. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of the It's All Mental Podcast.